All right, so we did Daytona on December 6th, and then we took a week recovery. And because we didn't really do too much in 2020, we had like 70 days off swimming and, not really much racing and not a ton of pushing myself too hard. We decided it was important to just get right back into training, not high volume or anything, actually quite low volume, and get back into swimming hardcore. And so we started the season officially for 2021 on December 14th. I can't really make a thing because I don't have enough data from here yet. In Windsor, it's 3,000 feet less, so it's worth something. How I'm dividing my thinking up, or the season up rather, I'm trying to do it very simply. I'm trying to do it in a way that makes sense for the sport of triathlon. And so I think in an ideal world, for me anyway, I will divide the season into 4 phases. The sprint distance triathlon phase, the Olympic distance triathlon phase, the 70.3 phase, and then the Ironman phase. And so I'm going to do, a series of videos about each of those phases and go into the detail of them and how I'm executing them, and then of course at the end the results. But for the first part of the season, those phases are going to be, so December 14th to January 24th will be the sprint tri phase. It's going to last 6 weeks. The Olympic tri phase is going to be January 25th to March 14th. That's going to last 7 weeks. And then finally, it's going to be kind of a hybrid because I got to get the Kona qualification. And I want to do St. George 70.3 as well because it's the World Championship course. That phase will last from March 15th to May 23rd, and it will be 10 weeks. But obviously having the 70.3 and the Ironman in there will be a bit of tapering and recovery. So the actual, meat of training will be about 8 weeks. All right, so why am I dividing the season up into this format? Well, I learned a lot in 2020, particularly from the ITU guys, particularly from the guys at the top, Gustav and Vincent Louis and those guys. And I think we can all agree, Gustav's already proven, but I think we can all agree that these guys, when they do a 70.3, they're generally the one to beat. And I think we can also agree that, and Gustav has said he's going to do Kona in 2021, we can agree that he's going to be a top contender on his first try. Of course, there's a bit of a learning curve with the heat and that sort of thing, and the type of competition that in racing, world championship type Ironman, there's a bit of a learning curve, but certainly will be a top contender. And so you have to ask yourself, well, why will these guys be, and why are they top contenders? Well, in order to go fast at an Ironman or to go fast at a 70.3, you have to be fast. And so for most of the season, these guys are preparing for short distance races, sprint distance tries and Olympic distance tries. And this allows you to, because you're not doing, really long, hard intervals, this allows you to shorten the intervals and make them really, really fast. And when you go really, really fast, well, that's when you'll exhibit your absolute best technique, your best muscle recruitment patterns. You have to learn to relax because it's just the pain and the intensity is just so in your face. There's just no way to execute it without doing it with the absolute best form and breathing, etc., that you can do. And so I believe it is for that reason that these guys, we agree, are the top contenders in the world at 70.3 and Ironmans. And so that's why I think we should go back to basics, and the main basic in triathlon to do your best in a 70.3 or an Ironman is to be fast. And so that's why I believe we need to start the season preparing as if we were like these ITU guys, as if we were doing a sprint distance try, and then get really fit for a sprint try, and then convert that training over to an Olympic try. And then once you're super fast, and have a bit of endurance, then you convert that over to 70.3, and then if you've done it properly, then I think very easily you can absorb the training in order to be the best version of an Ironman racer that you can be. All right, so it's January 19th today when we're filming this video, and I just finished the sprint phase actually last week. I'm in now let's call it the recovery or the decompression phase after doing 5 hard weeks of training. And in this phase, we actually today executed a time trial in the swim, the bike, and the run to sort of give ourselves a sense of where we're at, as well as, I believe, if you just train and train and train week over week, which is what a lot of guys, including myself, did in 2020, because there was no races, I believe you just train yourself to death and you pick up little injuries. And I still have this little knee tendonitis, which I believe I picked up from just doing nothing but training. So we've built in, even though there is no race right now, we've built in a little test session that I executed today to conclude the sprint phase. But what is some of the value of the sprint phase? Well, the big one is in my case in particular, because I didn't actually take like a true off season, it allows you to do quite low volume, as you'll see when I present the data. And because you have such low volume, you can actually put more time into one of your weaknesses. For instance, I put more time and energy into my swimming. And then it also allows you to get to your workouts fresher and execute them better and faster. And then also, it just allows you to enjoy life a little bit more. When you're constantly doing high volume and training, let's say you're quote unquote an Ironman specialist or something. You don't have much time to do anything else other than train, and you're dead after the training. So it's almost like allowing for an off season without actually taking an off season in the sense of completely off. I believe it's an off season that's going to make you a much better athlete when you do get back into the higher volume stuff in the 70.3 and the Ironman phase. So we concluded that phase a couple days ago, and I want to give you a sense of what the volumes look like. So in week 1, I did 10 hours and 50 minutes total of training. Week 2, I did 13 hours, 47 minutes total of training. Week 3, I did 12 hours, 47 minutes total of training. Week 4, 13:50. And week 5 was my highest volume week, 14 hours, 58 minutes. And the average of that across all 5 weeks is 13 hours and 20 minutes. So I think for a lot of people, that's probably, a really ideal phase, because it allows you to, get a lot of quality in there, but not take too much time. So, I feel pretty good. I'm a little bit tired. I took 5 straight weeks without just one day off each week on Sunday. So I am a little bit tired, and I do feel that I need a couple days to absorb, but the nice part is I was able to execute the whole week with quite good intensity. So then I think the logical thing is just talk about everything I did in the phase by the sport. And so swimming, well, we were making a whole series about that, but I started swimming with the Aqua Bears Swim Club, and great group. Now actually the swim has just been filling up, so now we had every lane full. Got to go 5 seconds apart now because we have 2 people per lane. Some of the interesting things that I see as areas that will lead to improvement: swimming with swimmers that are better than myself on a regular basis, having feedback on a daily basis from coach, swimming more total volume. So my total volume across the 5 weeks was 21,263 meters average, and I always swam over 20K each week. That's something David wants me to do. He thinks that in the past, when I've had my best swims, it's come from swimming a minimum of 20 kilometers a week for many weeks in a row. And then I think another big one, and important one, is that because I'm swimming with a group and under a coach, I'm doing a lot more quality. Pretty much I'm swimming 5, maybe 6 sessions a week, and usually just about every set we have a 15 to 2,000 yard main set. So, let's say in 2020 and maybe 2019 as well, I probably swam, 18 to 20 kilometers a week, but I would do most of that was just easy swimming, and then maybe 2 quality swims per week. So now I'm doing like 5, maybe even 6 quality swim sessions per week, where I'll amass across those sessions between 10 and 12 kilometers of actual high intensity swimming. So I think those things all together will lead to gains in the water down the road. All right, so now on to the bike, and I think this is probably one that people might take a second look at and laugh about, maybe a little bit even. So my average weekly volume for the 5 weeks was 4 hours and 22 minutes, and that's across an average of 6 rides per week. So you can do the math on that. That's not very long rides, because I did ride 5 or 6 times a week. So 422 average. Each week I did, of all 5 weeks, I did 2 workouts each week. And the progression was, just to give you a sense of how I did it, week 1, I did 6 times a minute at 440 watts with 45 seconds recovery, straight into 3 times 3 minutes at 370 watts with 1 minute recovery. And then throughout the weeks, I just turned the dials. I turned the intensity dial, so I got that up to about 450. I turned down the recovery dial. I turned up the duration dial. Eventually I got my 1 minute up to 2 minutes at higher intensity. And then I also increased turned the quantity dial of intervals. So in week 5, I did kind of a similar workout, but much harder. I did 3 times 2 minutes at 445 watts with 1 minute recovery, and I actually hit all over 450 on those. Straight into 6 minutes at 400 watts with 2 minutes recovery, so that's quite an increase from the week 1 from 370. And then I did that whole thing twice, so that was 24 minutes at an average across those intervals of probably 420 watts or so. And then also, to give you a sense of what I did in a pure threshold type workout, in week 2, I did 5 times 4 minutes at 390 with 1 minute recovery. And then in week 5, we actually live streamed this workout. I progressed that type of workout to 4 times 7 minutes at 400 watts with 1.5 minutes recovery. And then of course another, kind of important piece, of course, especially the longer distances, but for the sprint try, I don't know how important it is, but I did my long ride in week 5. I progressed it to 80 minutes at 250 watts, of which most of it was in the TT position. And then another, I think, important metric to tell you, because a lot of people in the live stream saw that I was riding in the uprights for the intervals, and they're like, why don't you ever ride in the TT position? I'm like, well, there's a time and a place for everything, and I definitely do believe you should do some intervals in the TT position, but a lot of them, I think you should get your power just as high as you can possibly get it, however you need to do that. But if you're going to be a TT specialist and rely on your TTing heavily like I do think you should do just about everything else in the TT position. And so across the 5 weeks, I averaged about 68% of the total time while on a bike in the TT position. So that's the bike piece. Okay, and then on to the final discipline, the running. Once again, some people might laugh at this, but this is what I did. This is real numbers. I pulled these from Training Peaks. Nothing's made up here. I averaged across the 5 weeks 48.6 kilometers per week, and I got my long run up to 14 kilometers at 4:15 per kilometer. In terms of progression, I always did 2 workouts a week across all 5 weeks. In week 1, I did 5 times 400 meters with 45 seconds recovery to 2 by a K with 1.5 minutes recovery. And we went 69 and then 68 for the rest of the 400s, and for the Ks, 258 and 255. And then almost an identical workout, just with a little bit less rest and a few more reps. In week 5, we did 5 times 400 with 45 seconds recovery to 3 by a K with 1 minute recovery. And for the 400s, went 69, 69, 67, 67, 64. And for the Ks, went 255, 254, 251. And of course, you can get a sense of how I believe you should prepare for 5K anyway through the 10 or whatever videos we did on breaking the 5K PB. But just to give you a sense how I started the season. As well, I did another type of progressive type workout. In week 1, I did 3 1200s with 1 minute and 15 seconds recovery. We went 335, 334, 333. And then in week 5, we basically repeated that workout, except we did 4 1200s on 1 minute 15 recovery. and went 332, 331, 332, 331. So, so that's everything we did across the phase. I feel good. I feel fast. Definitely getting faster. I mean, it's not. I wasn't like, you know, really trying to overreach or something. I'm just trying to let fitness happen naturally. And when you're not doing a ton of volume and you're doing a lot of speed, you definitely start to get acquainted with the effort, get acquainted with what the turnover feels like, get acquainted with what the muscle recruitment pattern is like in order to run a 67-second lap. And I believe when you do this repetitively over and over again, now when I move into the next phase, the Olympic distance phase, of course the intervals are going to get a little longer. There's going to, you know, be a little bit more duration. So instead of doing 1200s, maybe we'll do miles, this type of thing. I believe a combination of, you're going to have to slow down obviously a little bit, but because the fitness is progressing, you might even find yourself doing a little bit longer intervals and actually getting faster even than you were in the sprint phase. Of course, that begins to change the 70.3 because the complexion of the intervals definitely start to change there a bit in order to be fully prepared for the 70.3 and the Ironman. But so that's the phase that we just concluded. We did, and I already know the results. I'm not going to share them right now because we obviously have to leave it as a cliffhanger. But we did do a test session today of 1,000 yard TT in the water, 20K TT on the bike, straight to a 5K TT off the bike. And I think it went quite well actually. So that'll be the next video of what this style of training, this type of volume, that sort of thing, what can you get out of it? And so tune in for the next one for that. All right, so I also wanted to mention that this is kind of a tough topic, I guess, to do a video about, and I actually had to think like I've got a couple pages of notes here because it's a lot of information. I've got a lot of things I'd like to get across, and it's really, really difficult to just say it on a video. So this is actually the type of thing I used to do with my written blog, and I do remember people enjoyed that then. So I mean, maybe we will do a little bit more of the written blog, but let me know if you liked doing it in this fashion and if you find it valuable, and if you do, then we can continue to do this type of video and you know, share the Olympic, what we did in the Olympic distance phase and the results, and then once again in the 70.3 in the Ironman phase. And then after all that's done, then maybe we can share whatever it is we're going to do for the rest of the season. So let me know in the comments if you found this useful or helpful.
All right, Lionel, how you feeling?
I feel good. I feel that this could make an excellent training space to do some damage for sure.
You gonna put in an offer?
I'm thinking that's where we're headed.